So you just sat down with hours of footage from a documentary and you have no idea where to start. I'm at that exact point currently, and it's frustrating. It's very intimidating, and there's not really anything fun about it. The initial steps that you take now are going to be very crucial to if this is going to be an easy workflow or a hard workflow. You can do some things to hold over the client. You can do some things to make your personal life easier. So this is my entire workflow for the front end, actually like getting the ball rolling. You saw the interview video and how I cut through those interviews. So that's kind of part of it that we'll skip through. If you haven't seen that video, go watch it. It's about how I go through hours of interview footage for a documentary. So right now you see we have a clean slate in Premiere. We are going to go in and grab the folders that we know there's footage in that we want to import. So for me, it's going to be camp, dinner with the family, training session, and raw audio to start. Drag that in just into wherever your project is. You're going to drop it in there. Wait for your files to import. Now that we have it all in there, everything's imported, but it's kind of just all over the place. I personally like to keep my footage organized in the sense of I know this is going to be all camp day footage. This is going to be one of the scenes we shot, and this is going to be another one of the scenes. So whenever I'm going through and cutting it all up, I know that I have these different chunks that I can fall back to and know, well, this would be great for a training shot. This would be great for a more family personal shot. So I like to keep them in different folders in Premiere as well as inside of the Finder, inside of the hard drive. The hard drive thing is more so just because we shot them in different parts. So I'll pull the whole folder off of the card and I'll just rename it. But I'm going to keep it that way here. First thing we're going to do is we're going to line up the interviews. I'll do one for the sake of the example, but we're going to go into raw audio. This is where the audio from my Rode Wireless Pros are. That's what I use. I'll lob them up. In some cases, I'll use the whole brick and I'll hide it underneath their shirt. Sometimes I'll put a microphone on their shirt, whatever feels best for the situation. I try and hide it when I can, but I am a one-man crew, so it's not perfect. Sometimes I need to show a microphone. I try not to, but it's hard whenever I'm the one monitoring audio, miking people up, filming it, interviewing. It's a lot of work. I know that this right here is one of the interviews audio, so I'm going to drag it over here, and so we can have it separated for whenever we're merging the audio. I'm then going to go into where I know that interview is. In this case, it's the camp, and it's all the way at the bottom. I'm going to grab that clip, put it in for tutorial, and you have it right there. Next thing, you are going to click on the video portion, hold down Command. I'm on a Mac, so it's Command. It might be a little different on Windows. Click on the audio file, right-click then, and go to Merge Clips. This is going to blend your audio file with your video file without you manually going through and trying to figure out where it lines up. Make sure that audio is selected. If you use timecode, go ahead and use that. I personally don't have experience using timecode. I've heard it might make my life a little bit easier, but I've never used it. And then make sure that your settings look very similar. Okay, wait for it all to process, and then you have the clip right here. That is going to have the audio and the video all merged up. Next step we're going to take is we're going to make a sequence. For the sequence, I go Command N. You can also just right-click right below your clips, new item, sequence, and the same thing will pop up, but the keyboard shortcut is easier. I have presets here. I have my wide one, vertical, and some other ones that I used for projects not too long ago. For this case, I'm going to use the wide one, which is my 4K 24 frames per second. If you want to know what it is, right here, screenshot that. It'll replicate my 4K 24 frames timeline if that helps you. Name it whatever you want. In this case, it's going to be called Interviews. And we have the wide one. And I'm also going to make another sequence that is the full documentary. This is going to make sense in a second. So I'm going to go to the interviews sequence and drag that one in where it's all lined up. So now you see you have 3 different lines of audio, and we want to delete 2 of them. So these 2 are going to be the in-camera microphone. That's going to sound terrible. I'm going to make sure that this linked selection is gray, so that means that it's deselected, and I'm going to go click on both of those audio layers there and delete them. So now we have the video and we have the audio that we want. Right there, that is going to be a good starting point for you to go through your entire interview. Once again, I made an entire video about how I go through my interviews, so go watch that. I'll dive into that. That's kind of the next step. But we have other steps before I would even go through the interviews in general. The next thing I like to do is I will select that. I will right click, scroll down to label, and label this interview a specific color. So make it all the same, so whenever you're editing, you know this one is the player, this one's the parent. You want to go through and just make sure that all of that is organized as best as you can. Next step I'm going to do, this probably is not normal, but I like to go through the footage that I have. And I'm not saying go through to see what direction I want to edit quite yet. This is to hold the client over. For a documentary piece like this, the edits take me a little while. It's not an overnight thing. I need to take my time to go through the interviews, go through the footage, the story arc, figure out what direction it's going to go, the coloring, all of that stuff. And to buy yourself some time, you're going to pull some frames. In order to pull high quality frames, you're going to go up to this top section here, your program monitor, and click on this camera to export a frame. If it's not there, click the plus, drag it down, and it should be there now. I would go through and I would send the client 30-ish frames from the shoot. In this case, the documentary is for Under Armour. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to find ones that have Under Armour branding. Maybe you see it on the person's turtleneck. Maybe you see it on their shirt, the cleats. The cleats are a big part of this whole project. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to pull some stills of the cleats. And then you want to show them some cinematic type of ones. So the interviews, maybe it's just little sections to show, hey, we shot this location, and that location. It's a great way to hold over the client and then keep yourself from feeling rushed through this entire project, because the last thing that you want is to send your first draft and not have it be perfect or up to the standard that you want it to be. So that is how I get a project started. Not the coolest thing in the world, not the most glamorous thing in the world. It's very much importing and lining things up and getting everything ready to go with sequences and all the mundane BS that you have to still go through. And now we can actually start the edit and start to figure out what direction we want to go. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you supporting the channel as always, and I'll see you in the next video. Subscribe if you're not already. Peace. Hope that one helped.